Jack Keane is a Fox News senior strategic analyst, chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. Great to have you here, sir. I want to show you two things, because there was some possibility, or we heard that there's discussions about possible hostage releases. Two possibilities they're saying. The first one would be 3 to 5 days of no fighting, and Hamas would release 50 women and children on day one. Israel releases similar number of Palestinians held in Israeli prisons. So that would be the first set. The second would be that Hamas would release 10 more hostages each day of ceasefire. When hostage release stops, then the ceasefire stops. And that would also mean Israel allows large amounts of fuel and trucks into Gaza. So those are the two possibilities. The administration saying they're cautious. They're not saying it's happening right away, but they're thinking that they want to get this done. What do you know?
Well, I think there's something here is going to happen. They're working out the final terms of it, and obviously we're not privy to what the differences are. But we knew from the outset that Hamas did something very different here. One, they attacked the civilian population on October the 7th, which was their primary attack, versus the IDF, which has been the case in the past. And two, they took significant amount of hostages as part of their plan. And we speculated that the reason for the hostages was that they would use them in tranches to be able to release them to get ceasefires so that they can rearm, re-equip, and move their people out of harm's way, and also keep sufficient number of hostages to make certain that the regime survives. Remember, the military task assigned by Israel's national authority is to dismantle Hamas. And that's what they are attempting to do as a military and terrorist organization's effectiveness, their entire network, and also as a governing body. That is a tall task. And obviously Hamas absolutely sees one of the things that they want out of this is to preserve the regime. If they're able to preserve their regime, they will declare victory, that everything that they lost was absolutely worth it, because they got widespread condemnation of Israel in the international community, some geopolitical isolation of it, and they believe weakening of the Israeli government in terms of its inability to respond effectively to their attack. So the stakes are very high here for the Israelis, and it is a formidable challenge what they're up against.
General, I mean, your first answer surprised me. You have optimism that this can work. You know, I see two sides who just flat out don't trust each other. I see an active war. I see both sides want destruction of the other. And we've yet to see significant signs that there is proof of life for so many of these hostages. And that's just where I'm left to think about. I want to be optimistic.
Well,
I mean, give us some hope that I'm wrong and you're right.
Well, I would suspect the Israelis have asked for proof of life. They're not going to show it to us. These are classified secret negotiations that have taken place. I'm assuming they do have some evidence of that. This is going to happen, in my judgment, because it's in the interest of both parties. And that's the obvious one. As I mentioned, Hamas needs this. What is happening here on the ground, so our audience understands, Israel is clearing northern Gaza. They have to move to the eastern part of Gaza to finish it and deal with the tunnel complex. What Hamas has been doing, they have not been defending. They have been delaying actions, and that's, in military terms, trading space for time. Why? To preserve their force. A lot of their force has their leaders, and a lot of their fighters have already moved south, where there'll be a pending humanitarian crisis, given the concentration of people that are down there, plus, obviously, a very intense combat operations being conducted there. That is what I mean about the challenges that the Israelis are facing here. It's in their interest to get the hostages back, and Hamas knows that, and it's in Hamas's interest to buy some more time, and I think at some point that compromise will be made.
Hope you're right, General. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Yeah. Jack Keane, thanks.